Okay, so we've got the Chinese one-child policy here, and this is my case study for AS Geography. This is a case study of population management. Okay, now they focus here not so much on what they did, but evaluating the successes and the problems it had caused. So, a little bit of background. The one-child policy was introduced in 1979. It was introduced after the Wang Shishao policy. This was introduced in the late 1950s. All right. Chinese population in the sort of 40s and 50s had grown incredibly fast, and like any rapidly growing country, there were lots of issues with having a high dependency ratio and lots of young people. So the Wang Shishao policy was put into place. This was later, longer, fewer, and this was a fairly standard antenatal policy that discouraged people to have many children, but it did it in a very nice way, in a very democratic way. Okay. Now, in 1979, the Chinese government decided to introduce a more radical policy, the one-child policy, and this was very simply one child per family, and this was enforced using the carrot and the stick. So by that I mean the carrot of tax breaks for people with only one child, and the stick of things like forced abortions, social ostracisation, and the granny police for people that have more than one child. So you'd look to evaluate this. Key points. Benefits. 400 million births. The Chinese estimate that 400 million births were avoided as a result of this policy. This number has been disputed, but more or less the Chinese population is 400 million fewer than it would have been without it, according to the Chinese. All right, it's about 1.43 billion people now. Another pro, massive economic growth. Okay, as a result of being a demographic dividend, okay, which is where you've got a low dependency ratio, lots of people in the economically active population working, that has led to massive economic growth, and China is now becoming one of the countries with the largest GDPs on earth. Okay, so as a result of this population policy, there's been massive economic growth, and that's a really important point to remember. So, job done. Not quite. We've got some cons here as well, okay? There's been some massive social issues. A lot of female infanticide and forced abortions from people who have got pregnant a second time, which really infringes on a lot of social rights. It's led to real dependency ratio issues now. As a result of having a small dependency ratio in the 90s, there's now massive issues where China soon will be having huge ageing population problems. This is going to lead to having a high dependency ratio again, as the very small young dependent population now struggles to support the ageing dependents, and this could really stifle China's economic growth. Yeah, so this could lead to this economic growth being reversed, potentially. And some may say it was unnecessary. All right, they're saying the Wang Shishao policy, which they were using in the 50s and 60s, was doing the job, and this wasn't needed. All right, and it would have come down anyway. The DTM says that all countries eventually reduce their birth rate and have a much more stable population as they economically develop. So, in fact, was this really just a population control done by a communist state trying to control its population? That's your case study in a nutshell. There you go.